Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to the Starcraft 2 Own It Shack. It's David here, bringing you another Mech first-person video. So, this is going to be part of the Master League Quest series, the Mech Master League Quest, in fact, because I'm doing nothing but Mech on my way to the Master League. Now, so this game is going to be a Terran versus Terran. Now, I'll just say right off the bat, Mech in Terran vs. Terran is really fun right now. You can actually get away with going for many different styles in TvT right now. In fact, it's kind of surprising. A lot of people thought, including myself, I really thought that the huge siege tank buff would kind of make Bio obsolete. But if you play it right, Bio can actually defeat Mech easily. And not saying Bio's stronger than Mech, but it's a fair fight, and that's the way it should be. Whereas before, Bio would pretty much stomp Mech with the medevac siege tank pickup ability of the past. So anyway, with Terran vs. Terran, I'm now doing nothing but a double gas opening. So this is a gas first build. This is what I believe to be the most standard TvT opener you can use. It's 2 Reapers and a Hellion, and you can transition into pretty much anything you like after that. You can actually go for Bio if you please. You can go for Mech. You can make a Cloak Banshee or some kind of Widow Mine drop. You can pretty much do any strategy you like with this build. It's just a very safe opener that delays your expansion a little bit, but does allow you to get out that early tech so you can defend pretty much anything easily. I have not died to much with this. Now, what you do notice is I did actually send my scout out at 15 supply. That's what I'm doing in Terran vs. Terran right now. I believe that this is very important at the moment because with Terran vs. Terran, you actually need to know pretty fast whether they're going for one of these fast expansion builds like you see here, what my opponent's doing, or if it's going to be a tech build like mine. So in this case, I scout the fast expansion, and I scout the Reaper, which is good. So I know at this point exactly what this is. This is a fast expansion build where you get 1 Reaper, possibly 2, and then you get your factory up and potentially make your decision about Bio or Mech. The key here, because I have 2 Reapers, I'm actually going to be able to apply a little bit of pressure on him, and he won't be able to really apply any on me because he'll only have the 1 Reaper since he went for the fast expansion, and he certainly won't have Hellions or anything like that in time. I'll have the mobility advantage basically. But of course my expansion is going to be significantly delayed. Now you can see I get 2 Reapers there. After 2 Reapers I do enjoy throwing down a reactor onto that barracks to get Marines. Now in this game I actually made a tech lab with the factory so that I could get fast cloak Banshees with my starport. However, normally what you probably want to do is actually make a Hellion with that factory first and then go ahead and make the tech lab. It will slow your Banshees down by about 15 seconds maybe, but it's nice to have that early Hellion a little bit faster. So you can see there he scans the Cloak Banshees. So, here's the thing. When your Cloak Banshees get scanned, unless your opponent really doesn't know how to play, chances are he's probably just going to end up making turrets and Vikings. So because I predict that from my opponent, I actually go ahead and cancel the Banshees. So let him waste his resources, and instead of going for that, I'm just going to throw down an expansion, go pressure with my Reapers and Hellion, and get out a fast Raven. It's really nice to get that early Raven because it's actually pretty useful for defending some early drops, and it can help you win the air wars later if you keep it alive. So it's nice to get that Raven while you still have your starport on a tech lab, because eventually you will be switching that over to a reactor to get Vikings out with your Mech. So I scout up the ramp, and he's actually gone for a very safe transition here. He's actually gone for a siege tank. So a siege tank is very nice. It helps you defend against lots of stuff. But also, just so you guys know, when you see a siege tank like that in an early game and your opponent has done a fast expansion, there's a good chance he's going to try to drop you with that later. Siege tanks actually point to more aggressive play sometimes, especially when they're being used by a Bio player. So you can see that here. I'm actually going to drop a scan on his base soon to see what exactly he's going for. It's a good idea to do that scan, and once you scan that, you'll be able to split up your army accordingly. So I have switched my starport over to the reactored section so I can double produce Vikings. That's extremely important. You'll notice I don't have any missile turrets here yet. That's actually on purpose. I'm actually planning on defending against drops with those Vikings, so it's very important that I get those out fast. Another great reason for canceling the Banshee, it'll just get your Vikings out a little bit faster. So you can see there, I'm transferring over my SCVs. I still have the Reaper waiting outside his base to see if he pushes out. I haven't seen a push yet, which is kind of odd. So I do, here's the scan, and you can see, what do you see here? It's a 2-on-1 build. Tanks, barracks, and a reactor starport. And what that always means is that he is going to be dropping you. So when you scout a drop like this, what you want to do is split your army up. Have a siege tank in your main like this. You can see that one right there. Have the Vikings patrolling up here by that barracks. You can see the medevacs and kill them before they arrive, or at least get damage on them. And be ready, man. Have your army pre-hotkeyed so you can transition between. Now, I'm assuming he's going into the main. Like 80% of the time they will go into the main. So it's a pretty safe bet to have 2 tanks up there and the rest down below. Also, because I know exactly what's happening, I feel safe taking that base. I'm also going to just poke up here, see what I can see. And you can see he's got 2 tanks right there, which means he hasn't loaded up the medevacs yet. He's actually being pretty slow about this. If I were him, I probably would have loaded those up with just 2 medevacs, but he appears to be waiting for 3 or 4. So, that's good. I now have 4 tanks out, which is very good. That's going to allow you to defend against drops quite easily. And I have Vikings patrolling, which is nice. Also, I'll be taking those extra gases at my expansion. You can actually get those earlier depending on the build. It's really up to you, and I do have double armory on the way. I like to get double armory immediately after starting my 3rd command center and before I add extra production. So one Hellion's going to go take out that nuisance SCV. Vikings are still patrolling. I've still got good production going, although I am getting a little gas block, so those it looks like those refineries there should have been up a little bit sooner after all. So the barracks, by the way, is floating over there just to spot, see what angle those medevacs are going to come in at. Now, at this point, it's all but guaranteed those medevacs will be coming in, so it's very important that you scout the angle and have your Vikings hotkeyed so you can easily move them around and kill the medevacs as quickly as possible if you do see them coming. And so there they are. It's a 3 medevac drop. Usually it's a good practice to just kind of focus down one. Now, unfortunately, that was a colossal error by me. I actually lose the Raven. But because I have tanks in position here already, it's really quite easy to mop this up. So you can just kill all that stuff and then just go ahead and land the Vikings and they'll clean up the tanks without taking any damage at all. So all in all, not too bad. I lost a few SCVs and that was pretty much it. Oh, and the Raven, of course, which was painful. But overall, I feel like I'm in a solid lead right now. But, as you can see, macro's not doing too well. It's really not good to be doing what you see here. I've got over 1,000 minerals right now. That's really not Master League material. Now, normally these turrets would have been up quite a bit sooner, kind of allowing me to get rid of those minerals. But honestly, what happened here is my macro kind of slipped because I forgot those refineries. And as a result, I wasn't able to spend all my minerals as effectively. So now with all this stuff, all this good production going, I'm easily able to take my 3rd because I just traded a bunch of economy for army. So there's no way he'll be able to really launch an assault over there anytime soon. And you'll, of course, want to get those geysers up immediately. So now I have a decent amount of tanks. I also have that 1 Liberator there. It's a really good idea if you're going for mech and you have air control to get a couple Liberators. Not too many, just 1 or 2 is fine. And what that will actually do is allow you to siege and push him back. In the past, to push a siege line back, you needed to unsiege your tanks, creep a little bit closer, and then get that first hit on him while he doesn't have vision of you, so your tanks essentially can outrange his. Well, in Legacy of the Void, you don't really need to do that. I apologize that some of you guys probably already know this, but for anyone who might be new to Terran versus Terran or new to the game in general, just know it's best to actually siege a Liberator on his tank line, and once he unsieges his tanks to get out of Liberator range, you unsiege yours and then move them closer. I also like getting lots of sensor towers when I'm playing mech. I find it extremely frustrating to lose when Marines get into my base. It's actually one of the most painful things that can happen in TvT, so I do absolutely try my best to ensure that that does not happen. If that does happen, you're going to be in a very tough spot trying to get back into the game because he'll take out so much production and you leave your expansions bare when you go and take care of that. So now I have another CC on the way. That's for my 4th base. I'm also getting some more supply depots, all that good stuff, and I'm getting my double upgrades, of course. So, I scanned to see where his expo is. I didn't actually get a good look at that with my Reaper. So I'm going to just go up here, and there's no army yet, but he does react just in time, which means I have to siege down here. Now ideally I would have liked to have gotten up onto that high ground and siege there and within range of the command center, but unfortunately that didn't happen, so I ended up having a siege down here, which is not nearly as powerful. He's still getting full mining from that base, of course. Now I do have air control, which is nice, so I can pick off his Vikings, and that's going to allow me to go ahead and now siege the Liberator. This is what I was talking about before. You can then siege that Liberator and push back his tanks. Now I don't do this particularly well. I need a little more practice here. You want to be doing this fast. The last thing you want is to have him have enough time to react to this and get in position. Also, scanning when you have air control is probably not the greatest idea. I also need those tanks a little bit closer. So that's the pesky tank right there. So I'll siege the Liberator on that one. The Liberator does actually prioritize anti-air units like Marines first, which is fine. So you'll then go ahead and, as you can see, he unsieges his tanks, but honestly guys, this is a very frustrating map for this part. You can see here that because this map has so many little crevices and chasms where units have to skirt around, it can actually split up your army if you don't path it correctly, and that's actually what happened here, and it cost me dearly. So as you can see, I'm still producing back home, but actually should have had a way better siege line up here, and instead he ends up getting a pretty sweet trade on my tanks by catching them on siege as they were dilly-dallying around that big gap. I do manage to save the Vikings, but that really wasn't that good. So I'm going to pull back to the tower here. I have reinforcements that can easily take care of those Marines. I'm just waiting to see what he's going to do. Meanwhile, I'll saturate my 4th base and go ahead and move those SCVs, double gas it up, sensor tower at every base, remember that, and I like planetary fortresses most of the time for my 4ths, especially when I'm playing Mech. It's really convenient because sometimes you don't have enough resources to split up your army sufficiently to cover all your bases. Alright, so there you go. You can see what's going on here now. I've got 6 factory production, which is a solid number to have. Eventually you do want to have lots and lots of factories, and probably about 3 to 5 starports, depending on the game. So right now we're in that transition from mid to late game. So, you know, I did a bit of damage on him, cleaned up a bit, but in the end I relinquished my edge by suiciding my tanks when they were unsieged there into his bio ball. So really not a great spot for me after that, but it feels pretty even at this point. So now what I'll be doing is I'll be pushing around the map trying to deny his next base. Once you have a solid supply like this with Mech, you can definitely be aggressive. And as you push out, you always want to make those extra starports because you know 100% that he will absolutely be going for mass air transition if he's a good player. And my opponent is definitely a good player, so I'm getting prepared for that by putting down those starports. I also like the fusion core, not for battle cruisers, but for the Liberator ballistic missile upgrade. That's actually extremely powerful against their siege lines. You can use that to wreak devastating damage on them in the late game because unless they have air control, they actually can't stop it. So I go over here just to kind of see what's going on at the 4th, and I actually get I bite off a little more than I can chew here, as you can see. It turns out he had already started that mass air transition, which is a very painful thing for me. So what I'll be doing is I'll be retreating with my tanks and just massing up turrets. Yes, you can start the Vikings, but honestly guys, turrets actually do very well while you're waiting, and it's probably better to have the turrets than the Vikings initially. So if I were you, I'd prioritize my APM on turreting up absolutely everywhere, spend all those minerals, and as a result you'll be a lot more safe from BCs. Remember, with that new what's it called, the phase BC blink or whatever it's called, they can just move those battle cruisers to any position they like on the map, including your main base. So you don't want to be caught unawares without turrets in position to handle this situation. So while the turrets go up, I'm also kind of strategically moving around with my tanks, and by strategically I mean aimlessly because I'm only in Diamond League right now. But I'm doing the best I can, so I'm going to transition over here. Now, guys, keep this in mind. That was a mass air transition. I mean, he really didn't have much else after that. It seemed like he replaced most of his supply with those battle cruisers, and what that actually means is that you can kind of mass expand on him. it's really not a problem at all against BCs to go for mass expansions, because they do take a while to get around the map, even with that new thing. You can see here the turret does repel him a little bit, but honestly I have no idea why he didn't just drop some auto turrets or potentially come in with the BCs. He could have killed that. But I withdraw my base anyway in anticipation of those things coming back later to finish the job. So you can see I'm slowly accumulating those Vikings. I have 3 starports now, and I'll be taking more bases. I do feel like I'm pretty safe right now with tanks and all these turrets. I should be pretty safe from the BCs, but eventually I am going to want to incorporate some Thors into this mix. Guys, against battle cruisers, Thors are actually pretty good. It's true that Yamato Cannon can do devastating damage against Thors, but keep in mind that if you combine the Thors with Vikings, the Yamato simply is not really a counter anymore because the Vikings are so numerous. So Thors underneath Vikings with some tank support is an absolute perfect counter to battle cruisers. You can even mix in a Raven or 2 there, like I did for a Hunter-Seeker missile, which is always good. And of course you need lots of turrets. If you can force the engagement to happen under turrets, you will win with pretty much any unit comp. So as you can see here, he keeps having to withdraw because of the turrets. That's why I prioritize those immediately. Your Vikings can't get over there fast enough. Now, because of the gravity of the situation here, I do end up throwing down a couple extra starports. Also, the Thor production has begun, which is good. And please, when you're using Thors against battle cruisers, be sure to transition them to that anti-air mode that does good damage versus armored units. That's what you want. That gives them really solid ground-to-air damage against things like battle cruisers and Tempests and Broodlords. Not so much against carriers, because those are just flat-out broken right now. But aside from that, these Thors are actually pretty decent against the other armored units. Well, probably not Void Rays, but you get the point. In this game, Thors are what you want with some Ravens, tanks, and Vikings. So as you can see, he did actually forget about this, so I'm just going to sneakily just kind of float that sucker back there to that, whatever, 7th base? I can't even count anymore. Maybe 6th. And now that I'm maxed out again, I feel pretty safe. So I'm going to just go ahead, drop a few mules there, as you can see, mule it up. That's going to give me decent mineral income. Now you can see he phased over there with his BCs. I think what he was hoping to do is kind of go into my base, but he realized there's a big turret line. Now, okay, in all fairness, my opponent was being very conservative here. If I were him, I probably would not have just chilled right there, because now he's going to get annihilated by the Vikings. And these are pretty devastating losses for him. Those are very expensive units, so he probably lost a solid 30-40 supply right there in battle cruisers. And the key here is that you want to find out what he's going to remax with. If it's not BCs, you don't want to be making more Vikings. Especially against if he starts mass Marine Marauder production again. That would be a terrible thing to do. That's the thing with Mech. You're really playing like a reactive style with Mech. You're always trying to scan and see exactly what he's going for so that you can adjust your army composition to counter that. Now I was planning on launching an assault over there, but because I saw this with the sensor tower, I go ahead and bring my army back into position over here. So remember, you still need those tanks because he does have a bit of a ground army underneath. But with my superior army right now, he should definitely not take an engagement here. He tries to come forward and get some pot shots with those Ravens, ends up just having to waste it on PDDs. And because he doesn't have Ravens anymore, I actually go ahead and decide to take this engagement. I do a nice Hunter-Seeker missile in the middle. He brings that Viking forward. I pull back. And as you can see here with the Thors underneath and mass air, it's really not possible for him to confront this situation. So he goes ahead and taps out and says GG. So that was a nice little Terran versus Terran there for you guys. I hope you enjoy. I'll definitely try to get some more strategy videos out for this matchup because I know it's probably the hardest one to learn for you Mech players. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.